Okay, I'm going to talk about the time that I took um, psilocybin mushrooms, psilocybin subaeruginosis, which is a psychedelic mushroom that grows predominantly in Australia and New Zealand. Um, I think they probably grow other areas too, like Papua New Guinea or like surrounding places, but that's where the ones that I had were in Melbourne. Anyway, I took them in my early 20s in Melbourne, and I spent weeks and weeks asking online and friends where I can find them, as I was very worried about eating the wrong ones. Um, I eventually found a spot along the Yarra River, um, underneath pine trees with wood chips below. And it was around like May time. Um, I was told that I would find them there, and I looked for like fucking weeks and I couldn't find any anywhere. It was like, what the fuck? But they're like, no, they're there. You just gotta get lucky and be there at the right time and shit. I think generally when it's been like very humid, so it's hot and it rains, and it creates like a very humid environment for them to grow. So I think when you have a lot of rain and it's really hot for a bit, and it just makes a good environment for them to grow. Anyway, I couldn't find any, and then one day I'm out there looking again, just like because people told me they'll be out there, and some like complete stranger that I have no idea taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, "Oh, a lot of hunters out today," and I'm like, "Yeah, I can't find any." And then he spent like the next hour or so showing me and teaching me what to do and what not to do and how to find them. Um, we didn't end up finding any, but I had like new confidence that I would eventually find some. We went back to his car, and he showed me a haul that he had just got of mushrooms, um, and he gave me a few, so I would have an idea of what to look for, which is um, when you pinch the stem, it will turn blue, and when you do a spore print and post it online, people will tell you if it is the correct one. Um, that's generally the best way to do it, and just how they look as well. There's like a traditional pimple type thing with the cap on top, um, but that's probably the best way, is to pinch the stem, get a spore print, post them online, and have it confirmed by people that know what they're doing. Never, don't just take random ones. It's fucking stupid. Um, be very cautious. Anyway, so the guy ended up giving me some, a couple, just so I would know what they look like. um, and then he gave me a hug, and he just kind of ended up on his way. Like, he went off, and I never ever seen him again. And then you fast forward a couple of days where there's like a lot of rain and these hot days, and I would start finding them, and I'll continue to find them, and then I would just dehydrate them, um, and then put them in like a glass jar and just put them in at home. And then I would go out and I would like show other people that were looking for them how, what I knew, you know, on how to find them. And I remember I ran into this couple once, and I gave them some, that were looking for them, and I gave them a hug and they went on their way. And then a couple of days later I ran into them again, and they said they took them, and they went and watched Alice in Wonderland looking through the glass or whatever it is, like 2012, 2013, that like newer Alice in Wonderland, and they're like, it was fucking amazing. Like, they had a really good time, and they like wanted to come find me, and they're like, oh, thank you. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They gave them a hug, they go on their way. And I would continue to do this, like helping people how to find them and what to do and what not to do type of thing. But at this point I hadn't actually done them myself, or any psychedelics. um, Besides like ecstasy and weed, which they can be considered psychedelics, I guess, but not like a traditional, ayahuasca, DMT, psilocybin, ibogaine, type of quite visual things. Anyway, I decided I would take them and go along the Yarra River by myself, by the way. and along the Yarra River is like a concrete footpath, and this is where tourists would go, and bike riders and skateboarders and people would walk, and the tourists before, like, they'd have little signs about the history of the Yarra River and, you know, Aboriginal people and shit. But I'm like, I don't want to be near people. I don't want to, like, interact with them. I'll look at them, but I don't want to interact with them because, you know, I might say some shit about the universe or something. So on the opposite side, where there's like no people, it's just bush, and it's difficult to get to. You got to go on that bridge and climb over shit, and you know. So I walk over, and it's slowly kind of coming on, like, bit of trails are happening. Visuals are getting a bit vibrant. Anyway, I get to this man-made waterfall, and next to the man-made waterfall is like this concrete slab, and then behind it is a huge rock cliff face that goes up very high. And then so I just sat down there and just, you know, in like a meditative state almost. And yeah, everything became like very wavy visuals, very vibrant colors. And if I would focus on like this concrete wall across from me, it would like, the longer I focused on one thing, it would become more and more like geometric. Like the patterns would become geometric, and everything, like, if you just took a breath and kind of looked around, and the geometric thing, like what you'd focus on, would go away, and it would just become like this massive one thing that was just so fucking beautiful and vibrant, and like blue skies, like super blue. And it's like, is this how we're supposed to see things, maybe? Anyway, it felt like almost with people going past and everything, this is always one thing, isn't it? Like, but just all these molecules, and it's just like this weird epiphany kind of thing I had about this cliche thing or whatever, but being one, like everything's just one thing, and it's just was a beautiful experience. Anyway, like I said, behind me there was a cliff face, and I'm like, I want to climb it. So I start like climbing, like rock climbing almost, up this wall, and I go to the top, and then I go down, and then I do it again, and then I do it again and again, and it just felt fucking awesome to climb like this, and like I was a monkey, mad energy and shit. It was really cool. Then I sat back down near the waterfall, and you could, like, the waterfall would be very you could almost make everything the waterfall. Like you're one with the waterfall. It was awesome. It was really, really beautiful. Oh my god. Anyway, the Melbourne, I don't know how long I sat there for. You know, time is just a concept. Like when you're under influence, time is so, what the fuck does this shit mean? And it doesn't make any sense. But basically it's like I probably could have been sitting there for hours, I don't know. Anyway, the weather, it's Melbourne, the weather changes all the fucking time. It'd be hot and sunny, and then it's just like, what, is it raining? What the fuck's going on? Anyway, the sun is kind of about to go down, and it's starting to become cloudy, and I'm like, I should probably go home. So I'm going home, and you know, this sense of like darkness comes over me, and it's getting cloudy, and it's getting dark, and by myself in the bush, basically. In this, anyway, I've like started thinking about my childhood and my relationship with my mum. I struggled with her relationship, like with her relationship with alcohol. Basically, she's been addicted to it like my entire life, and at this point, I hadn't spoken to her for months and months and months. But this is like my attempt at. I was hoping that if I was like, when you exhaust every other option of trying to get him to AA and trying to intervene or intervention, or, you know, I'm like, maybe if I don't talk to her, then she might choose a child over a fucking craving. It doesn't work though. But I thought that maybe it would. Anyway, so I hadn't spoken to her for months and months because I thought that, yeah, she would stop, like, attempt to get help if you know, she didn't have a kid in her life or a child. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I hadn't spoken to her for months and months and months, and I'm walking home and it's getting dark and I'm in the bush by myself and I'm super emotional. It's like everything is amplified a lot and you can't ignore it. You gotta look at it. You gotta fucking see what is this all about. Anyway, so this is all happening and then my fucking phone rings. I'm like like freaking out, and it's my mum. Oh my god, it's my fucking mum calling me. I'm like freaking what do I do? I'll just let it ring out. She hadn't ring me for months, by the way, so to ring in this moment, and she didn't know none of this was going on, so I was very like, why now? So yeah, I'll just let it ring out and then just ignore it. If she rings again, let it ring out, fuck it, just ignore it. But this like thing came over me, and I just answered it. And everything I wanted to say to her, like my whole life, just came out, and I was like crying, and it felt like this weight had been removed, and like these demons from me have been removed. I don't know how it felt really, really good. Like, oh my god, it felt fucking amazing. I don't know how she perceived it. Like, I could have just ring up and be like, like, you know, she rang and I'm freaking out, whatever. But for me, it was really, really good. And after that point, and kind of like this path of bad behavior and going down a similar route was removed, and it kind of set an imprint of like a new path I could take. And it took me a long time to get there, and I still am, but I felt like that's the moment where I knew I needed to change some things. So I did become sober eventually, and it just like permanently changed me. I became like less angry, more kind, more accepting, and that it's okay to love people, and it's okay for them to love you back. And that's basically it. That's what happened. It was quite crazy, but it was really good. I have other stories of when I did DMT. That's quite crazy. But yeah, that's it.